project is on drug use in the music industry. Music is the heart and soul of many cultures. Different styles of music make the world go round. There is music for every type of emotion and feeling, but the music industry has a dark and tragic side to it: drug abuse and addiction. Many musicians are open with their struggles and incorporate this into their music, like Mac Miller, Demi Lovato, and Amy Winehouse. Tragically, many musicians are not comfortable enough to come out speaking about their struggles. Drug use is more commonly than not a result of depression, anxiety, or just feeling low inside. There are many factors that come into play with exposing musicians to drug abuse and alcohol abuse, including the environment, the age, and feeling pressured. Through the music industry, young musicians get the exposure to many things that in other career paths may not be presented to you. This is one of the main reasons drug use is not as huge of an epidemic in other career paths. With fame comes exposure to wealth, and drug use becomes promoted through songs and colleagues. There are many types of drugs that are being used nowadays in the music industry, and sadly, dealers begin to experiment and lace drugs, which cause tragic deaths very often. This occurred with Mac Miller's death. Musicians rap about everything from alcohol to LSD and worse drugs. Throughout the whole history of the music industry, drugs have been a major epidemic, and it's continuously getting worse as the amount of drugs available to use expands. Some popular types of drugs used in the music industry are marijuana, cocaine, alcohol, LSD, heroin, Molly, lean, and Xanax, all of which are very addictive and can cause overdose if used in the wrong setting. From the 1930s until now, the drug use for each era has changed drastically. In the 1930s, crystal meth was the most popular used drug. In the 1950s, marijuana and heroin were very common. In the 1970s, at the beginning of music festivals, LSD was very popular. In the 1990s, cocaine became very popular. And today, marijuana is the most used recreationally and in the music industry. Many musicians that have been affected by drug use, some being Demi Lovato, Amy Winehouse, Mac Miller, Britney Spears, Michael Jackson, Elton John, and John Lennon. One musician that struggled with drug and alcohol abuse that really affected me was Amy Winehouse. Amy Winehouse was a British-American singer-songwriter who grew a legacy for her one-of-a-kind voice. She was known for mixing pop, soul, jazz, and hip-hop. In her early career, she began to grow a reputation of being an unstable party girl. She would often show up to events too drunk to perform, and many people had a bad impression of her. She was also in a very unhealthy abusive relationship at this time, which she would reference in songs along with her struggle with addiction. Eventually, at the age of 27, she tragically died from an accidental alcohol poisoning. This had a very large effect on many Americans, including me personally. Mac Miller is another musician affected by drug use that affected many Americans. Mac Miller was a well-known American rapper. He was almost a self-built musician. He got very interested in music at a young age and taught himself how to play many instruments. He began rapping at the age of 14, and at 15, he began working on hip-hop. Through his whole career, he had this demon hanging over his shoulder: addiction. He was struggling to become sober and would often have slip-ups. Miller wrote very many songs about his struggles with addiction and drug use in general. Unfortunately, Mac Miller passed in the recent years at the age of 26. This was due to an accidental drug overdose, which now it has come out that it was due to his drugs being laced. Many musicians have talked about their addictions and their struggles in their music. Two songs that stuck out to me are Sober by Demi Lovato and Come Back to Earth by Mac Miller. Sober by Demi Lovato is a song that touches on all the hardships and withdrawals that she encountered trying to quit. Some important lyrics that she used in her song are "Wake me up when the shakes are gone and the cold sweats disappear," and "Sometimes I just want to cave and I don't want to fight." This first quote represents her going through withdrawals. Cold sweats and shakes are symptoms of withdrawals for any addiction. She's also saying she just wants to sleep through all these symptoms and just wake up sober. It's that hard for her. The second quote shows how hard it is to win a fight becoming sober. She's talking about just caving into alcohol and drugs instead of going through the hardships of becoming sober. Another song is Come Back to Earth by Mac Miller. Mac Miller references his struggles and addictions in many songs, but this song particularly sticks out to me because of the visuals and the lyrics. The music video for this song is a scuba diver going deeper and deeper into the ocean. This demonstrates as Mac Miller's life goes on, his addiction and struggles become deeper and deeper and harder to fix as he's going into this hole. Miller has always struggled with depression, and in this particular song he says, "I just need a way out of my head, I'll do anything for a way out of my head." This is showing that depression strains on his life really hard, and he will do anything to get out of this head state, including doing drugs. He also says, "In my own way, I feel like this is living." This meaning he's gotten so used to living this life of drug use that it's almost a norm to him.